Moving on to our top story this hour, however, we look to Venezuela, which announced this week it will drop the U.S. dollar in trade transactions. Venezuela's industry minister, Tarek Al-Assami, made the announcement Tuesday, saying the country will no longer submit to any monetary domination as U.S. intervention.
All transactions in the domestic exchange market will be referenced using the euro and other convertible currencies. We return to the scheme of the euro. The best hope they can give the people of Venezuela is that imperialism pulls its murderous and criminal claws out of the country and let us be free. We will not be anyone's colony again.
With Venezuela and the dollar in question, we turn to former UK Member of Parliament George Galloway to discuss. George, what do you think is driving this? First of all, do you get a sense that in Europe and the UK as well, there's a sense of frustration about being tied to the U.S. dollar?
Well, there's nothing so powerful as the power of an idea whose time has come. And the idea of breaking free of the hegemony of the US dollar is now everywhere, even in the most unlikely places. We've discussed before the foreign minister of Germany, once upon a time a client state of the United States, which is now openly searching for an alternative to dollarization in international trade. And this has spread, of course, farther and farther as the number of countries under sanctions and aggression of one kind or another at the hands of the US has literally multiplied. If you think about it, countries that are either sanctioned or threatened with sanction, why would they take the risk of continuing to rely on the US dollar, which is being used in such a politicized way? So Iran is under sanctions. Why would it trade in dollars, therefore? Why would Russia and China trade with each other or elsewhere in dollars when they are the subject of trade war and sanctions from the United States? And Venezuela is the latest to conclude that such is the level of aggression coming out of Washington, such is the obvious regime change appetite in Washington, that they might as well bite the bullet and buck the dollar.
Considering how the U.S. reacted, though, to, for example, Saddam Hussein when he adopted the euro over the dollar several decades ago, what is Venezuela risking with this decision?
Well, of course, there's a big risk in it, but the level of enmity coming from Washington towards Venezuela has now reached the point of no return. So I think the conclusion is we'd be better hung for a sheep than a lamb, as we say here. The people in Venezuela know that they are on the end of yet another US regime change operation. So they might as well stand up, do the principled thing, and like the Iraqi leaders and the Libyan, by the way, which also sought to break away from the dollar, they risk, of course, being overthrown. But it's not as if that risk disappears if they don't take this step. I was actually in Baghdad. I was talking with members of the former leadership of Iraq when this move was being discussed. I did point out to them at the time that the US would regard it as a red line. But times have changed, and the number of US opponents, stroke enemies, has multiplied in that time. For a start, Russia, at the time that Iraq was under attack from the US, was more or less in an interregnum. Russia is now in the Axis full time. And so the number of countries and the importance of the countries in the crosshairs of United States hegemony has multiplied. And that, paradoxically, or if you like, in a contradictory way, has strengthened the hands of those who are on the end of American aggression. There's more of them. They're more important than they were before.
And a lot of these countries, for example, Iran and Venezuela, produce oil, and the dollar is currently the standard currency used to trade that commodity, as well as, for example, gold. But do you think that could change? And if so, what would replace it?
Well, if you're Iran under sanctions and you're selling oil to China, which is under trade war from Donald Trump, why on earth would you trade in dollars? What do dollars have to do with it? The dollar could be an international reserve currency, the international reserve currency, if it wasn't being used in a politicized way. But it's quite obvious that it is, and therefore, why use it? The Chinese currency is very important, very strong. Russia's relationship with China means that the ruble is a strong currency. India, which is under threat of sanction from the United States over buying Russian military equipment, is a rising superpower in the international economy. Again, why should any of them bother with dollars?
All right, we'll leave it there for now. It's definitely a trend that is catching on worldwide. We'll see how long the dollar lasts then. Former UK MP George Galloway, thanks a lot.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.